Hi, I'm Liron Cohen.
And I'm Mimi Torchin.
And you're listening to Lady Parts TV, the podcast.
Whee!
Happy Friday. Happy Saturday. Sorry, we're taping this on Friday.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Welcome to another podcast from Lady Parts TV. And we're going to start with the stats. Very dismal this week, but I blame one show that we binged on, and we'll tell you about it in a minute. We tallied 17 primetime shows, out of which written or co-written by women, two episodes, which is 11%, and directed by women, 5, which is 29%. That's a pretty, we've been doing kind of 30%, kind of an average. It dawned on us, we have a lot of things to talk about today, but it dawned on us that last week
we forgot something.
Yes, after our hiatus, we were really, really excited to talk to you about something that we forgot. Yep. So we're going to talk to you about it today, and that is the finale of Sharp Objects.
Ouch.
Now, if you have been if you watched Final Sharp Objects, that's great. If you didn't, go and watch it now. It's not an easy show to watch.
No, it's not, but it is so worthwhile. I mean, you will be repaid 1,000-fold for your pain.
for your pain. It's a very, very good show, and you want to especially watch it because come award season next year, you should expect to see it high up there, especially for Amy Adams.
And even perhaps Patricia Clarkson.
And Eliza Scanlon, who played the sister.
But Amy Adams, I think it's probably the best thing she's ever done.
The best thing she's ever done. It's an HBO series created by Marty Noxon and based on the book by Gillian Flynn.
So it's got a very good pedigree.
Yes. And the finale, though, specifically, that we wanted to talk about, first of all, if you did watch the whole season and you watched the finale, we want to make sure that you actually stuck around
for the credits.
For the coda that's buried in the credits.
Buried way in the middle of the credits. And it's extremely important.
And the thing is that, because you don't expect to have a preview for next week because you know that this is the finale, you have no reason to either stay around for the credits or fast forward through the credits to get to the preview. And so I'm sure that a lot of people didn't.
No, we stayed around because the music was so great. We watched all the credits all season long because we loved the music. It just mesmerized us. So watch it. Because you have
to watch the coda. The coda is it takes the finale and it flips it on its head.
Well, it doesn't really. It already flipped it on its head at the end. But what it does is it gives you proof of what you believe you've just discovered.
Now, the problem with the finale for me, and I loved the whole season. Really, I found it fascinating and compelling and just riveting. And the finale, to me, the very, very last part of the finale, and we're not going to spoil it for anybody, so you know what we're talking about if you've seen it. My problem is that even though intellectually I could appreciate it, emotionally I found it very, very unsatisfying. As somebody who, when you watch the series, you really become attached to Camille. You are invested in her. You want her to be okay,
happy and well, and she seems to be,
just up to the last 5 seconds.
And she is still fine, but something happens that will rock her world,
right? And that I don't know how we can expect for her to ever be okay after that. So that was my problem with the finale. Though again, intellectually, I can appreciate it, and I can understand why the writer wanted to do one last twist in the end, but again, just as a whole, the series was so good.
And by the way, Jean-Marc,
the director of Big Little Lies,
he didn't want to do the coda. He just wanted to leave it the way it was.
I'm happy that
they decided, I don't know if Gillian Flynn, Marty Noxon, they decided it had to be somewhere. So he said, okay, well, we'll throw it in the credits.
Right. And actually the book apparently gives you
much more, yes,
to close up.
Exactly.
Business.
To make sure you know exactly what happened.
Yeah. So Sharp Objects, HBO. If you haven't seen it yet, go on HBO Go and go binge on it.
You must
just prepare to
to be disturbed.
Yes, to be
disturbed, to be depressed, to want to perhaps reach for a sharp object every once in a while.
Now, the reason that I said that our stats were so low was because we binged on the entire second season of Ozark.
I mean, didn't we binge on the whole...
the first season,
yes.
And we were lucky because
binge.
We were lucky with Ozark because we came to it late, so we didn't actually have to wait a long time between the first season and the second season. And the second season, I have to say, started off very a bit off-putting.
Yes, we said, "Oh no, it's so violent. Do we really want to watch this?" But we liked it so much that we said, "All right, let's watch the next one." And then, of course, that was it.
Well, and the thing is, this season, and by the way, this is a Netflix show. And you can watch the entire second season on there now. This season belonged to me to Laura Linney
and Julia Garner.
And the addition of Janet McTeer.
And listen, Lisa Emery.
Who's Lisa Emery?
Lisa Emery is...
Rachel?
No, the Jacob's wife.
Oh, Lisa Emery, of course. Right,
Darlene. You cannot leave Darlene out of this equation.
But to me, the stars of this season were Julia Garner and Laura Linney. The first season, and this is, the fact that our stats were so low is because this is a very, behind the scenes at least, a very male-oriented show, though the final episode was directed by a woman. Mm-hmm. But it's a very male-oriented show behind the scenes, and the first season I felt was more, surrounding Jason Bateman's character. This season, they pretty much put him off to the side.
Absolutely.
And
they just slid him over a little bit to the side.
They realized that they had a gold mine both in Wendy, Laura Linney's character, and Ruth, Julia Garner's character.
Oh my God.
And those two, the evolution of their characters in this season was mind-blowing.
And also Rachel had a lot to do. It was the women were front and center in season 2. In season 2. Absolutely, without a doubt, it was about the women.
Yep.
The men were all ancillary.
Yes, and then in the end especially, you find out that the women were doing things behind the men's back that they didn't even know, and that we didn't even realize until the end.
Exactly.
And every I just have to say that every episode there were at least, I think, 7 times when I turned to her and said, "Oh, I love Laura Linney. I love," because really, this is the best thing she's ever done.
Ever.
This is the most complex, layered,
oh my God, what a complicated
fascinating
character. Wendy is.
And even though the show is violent, and it is violent,
it is very violent.
But and we'll have to talk about American Horror Story
for a second.
next.
I was going to, but I was going to bring it up too.
Yeah, because I have to make the comparison that we were sitting there yesterday. We were trying to watch the new American Horror Story Apocalypse, because every year the cast is so stellar,
so unbelievable,
and every year we try to watch it, and every year we just feel it's just too disgusting, violent, and the violence is gratuitous,
and also the show seems stupid. The show to me seems like
this season,
a cartoon.
Anyway. This season. In previous season, I felt that the violence was the one thing hindering the show from really being...
But this first episode made the whole show seem like some sort of a fanboy's wet dream.
Yeah.
Like it was...
like a B-horror movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hammer without the class.
But when we watched it and we said, you see, the violence in American Horror Story is for the sake of being violent and disgusting, whereas on a show like Ozark, the violence is there.
Moves the story forward.
Yes, because it's a very, very disturbing world that these people live in. It's a very violent world.
He's a money launderer.
And they're dealing with the cartel. Or with the Kansas mob, or with Darlene and Jacobs. Yeah. So the violence comes from the story, and it's there as part of the storytelling. It's not there to just shock you.
And I was thinking, it's so amazing that you bring this up, but of course we are almost always on the same page. I was thinking we have to mention the difference between the violence in Ozark and the violence in Apocalypse, American Horror Story.
Yeah, and the thing is also, last season was pretty violent too, but this season I feel that the violence also came with a much deeper and richer emotional layer to the show, especially as they increased Wendy's character.
Yes.
And Jason Bateman's character is now the weaker one of the two. You
He's
see a
shell-shocked.
Yes, you see a lot more of the complexity of the emotion behind this. It's such a good show, people. I can't stress this enough. It's on Netflix
and
now.
we avoided it because we thought Ozark. What is this? A show about hillbillies?
The only thing
Not that
that
we have anything
attracted-
against hillbillies, in case a few of you out there.
The
are
only
hillbillies.
thing that attracted me to it was Laura Linney. Yeah.
And then once we started watching
Oh, my
it,
God.
we just couldn't stop.
Please take our word for it. It's on Netflix now, both seasons. Go and binge and let us know
Oh,
afterwards.
you will have to binge.
Yes.
And also, just let me just mention Harris Yulin.
Yes.
Yes, who plays Buddy.
Oh,
What
yes.
a
Wonderful.
beautiful character.
Yep. So, Ozark, I think we've said a lot about it. So, go see it.
All right.
Now to Mimi's corner.
Not to my corner. Castle Rock. Have I spoken at all about Castle Rock?
No, it's on Hulu, and you've just
I
recently...
just seen the finale. So I just want to say that Castle Rock is if you are a Stephen King devotee, it is absolutely fascinating, brilliantly done, gorgeously shot. Castle Rock, Castle Rock, Maine is a fictional town where many of King's best novels and stories and novellas are set. And this will be an anthology. Each season will be a different story. Some of the characters will probably, a few of them will carry through, exactly, because I already know that one of the small characters from this season one will probably be the main character in the next one. Again, a hint which they buried in the credits.
Though that's not crucial to know.
No, but it's very important to know.
Oh, she says so.
Yes. What you'll see in this one is a lot of Shawshank Redemption. There's a little bit of The Dark Half. There's It, The Body, Dead Zone. You will taste all of these things. And the cast is starring Andre Holland is Bill Skarsgård, Sissy Spacek as Ruth is unbelievable, and Melanie Linsky, who you might remember from Beautiful Creatures? No, the one with
with Kate Winslet.
Heavenly Creatures.
The creepy lesbian.
Yes, but she's grown up, and she's a very interesting character. And Scott Glenn, Bill Skarsgård once again, who played Penny Whistle or the clown in It, is again the main creepy guy in this. I
guess he's just born that way.
And it has a pretty satisfactory ending, but not completely, because I'm still not exactly sure what it was all about. But it has something to do with parallel universes. And it's not horror, it's really a thriller, and it does have supernatural elements in it. And it looks like next season, Jane Levy, who plays Jackie Torrance, who is a relative of Jack Torrance from The Shining, is going to be, I think the second season is going to be based somewhat on The Shining. So,
bound to be creepy.
Yes, she's going to do a road trip to Colorado. So we know that that's going to be very interesting. I highly recommend this if you like Stephen King. I highly recommend it if you like this kind of suspense, thriller, supernatural, even horror, though this was not very horror-y. There was quite a bit of violence in it, however. And I just want to say again that it's beautifully, beautifully shot. The palette is exquisite, and it's wonderfully acted. I mean, Sissy Spacek just absolutely runs away with this whole series, even though everybody is excellent.
So the entire season is now on Hulu. Hulu does this thing where they do one episode a week, but by now the whole season is there, so you can binge on the entire season.
And
on
you'll
Hulu.
want to.
Castle Rock on Hulu right now. Now we have a new series review, and thank you both to Bridget and to Debbie. Who recommended it to us. The first recommendation didn't nail it, but then the second one I said, all right, let's just check it out.
Let's just look at it. I said, let's just check it out.
It's called Sisters. Not to be confused with Celia Ward's Sisters.
One of my favorite shows ever.
Mine too. It's an Australian show, and it's now on Netflix. The first season so far was 7 episodes, and the trailer makes it look like a comedy. It's not. I mean, it has
comedic elements.
But when something looks like a comedy, I automatically say, nah. But then actually, it's a very, very sweet. Yes, very sweet family drama about a woman,
A Nobel,
Julia.
yes.
Julia Maria Angelico, played by Maria Angelico. Her father is a
Nobel Prize winning laureate, scientist, and fertility expert.
And we find out that the entire time that he was helping women to get pregnant, he was actually impregnating them with his sperm. And so there are about 100.
Yeah, not all of them, but he did it.
Many.
There
are about 100 young people out there in their 20s and 30s who actually are his kids. And
which makes them all siblings.
Right. And so Julia is trying to make the most out of a really bad situation, and she gets everybody together, and she finds out that almost all of them are boys except for 2, and now we find out maybe in the 3rd episode there's another girl.
I think that's likely to happen. It happened in Sisters.
Right. So Antonia Preble plays Edie, and Lucy Durek plays Roxy, and those are the 3 main, again, together with Julia, they make for the 3 sisters. Edie, by the way, is a suppressed lesbian. And that
you gave it away.
Oh, I think you find it out on the very first minute of the
true.
first episode.
Well, not the first minute, but...
well, should I...
No, it's okay.
Anyway, so she is married, but we do see there's quite a big subplot of her dealing with this.
Yes, because her marriage is unhappy, and she hates having sex with her husband, and he's a lovely guy who she loves.
Yes.
Yeah,
but she's obviously very much conflicted with those feelings. So we see a lot of that, and that's an interesting storyline. There are a lot of familiar actors for you people who love Australian shows. And especially from Wentworth, you'll see Iman and Meg, and lots of women behind the scenes. This is a very female-centric show.
Very female-centric, yes.
And it's quite sweet. It's kind of a family dramedy with Australian accents. So we just started watching it. We
enjoy it. I mean, I'm not over the moon about it.
It's sweet.
But it's fun, and when you want to watch something where people aren't being murdered every 5
if you want
seconds.
a little bit of a palate cleanser in between horror.
That's exactly what it is a palate cleanser.
But for me, and I'm sorry to be so shallow, but for me the lesbian plot is what keeps me going, especially because that is interesting to me more than anything.
You are shallow.
But the sister relationship is sweet. It is sweet. So Sisters on Netflix right now, all 7 episodes, and especially now that Wentworth is over, some of you will miss some Australian accents, so if you need an Australian fix, exactly, go see that. And now we have a movie review.
Yeah, we have a movie review. It's an Australian film called The Last Suit.
No, it's not an Australian film.
Oh, no, it's Argentinian. I've got Australia on the mind.
With the party going on in a couple of days.
It's Argentinian. I love Argentinian films, by the way.
I love Argentinians, by the way.
Yes, it's El Último Traje, which means The Last Suit.
And they actually translated it word for word, which is amazing.
It opened in Argentina in January, and it's opening theatrically in New York on September 21st, and in LA on September 22nd, and nationwide, of course, to follow. It's written and directed by Pablo Solars, and I'm not even going to tell you who the actors are. You've never heard of any of them unless you're Argentinian.
We have a couple.
Yeah, that's true, but I'm still not going to do it. At first blush, it would seem an odd film for us to...
not to me, because it's Holocaust.
Well, it's Holocaust, but, this is not a podcast called Holocaust Survivors. It's a podcast called Lady Parts TV, and most of our things are female-oriented. And this is about a male Holocaust survivor who takes a road trip to Poland and his past to fulfill a promise. It's just stunning. But the reason also that we think that it works for us, besides the fact that we loved it, it's one of the best movies I've seen all year, is because along the way he meets women who facilitate and help him in his journey. Both physically and emotionally. Yes. And it's a very interesting way to inject the female aspect and gaze into the film. And they're very important.
I would just like to say that this is a man who left Poland after the war and never looked back.
Never looked back.
And now it's his final days, and he knows it. And he goes back to fulfill a promise to a friend, but his journey is truly to come to terms with his past. and these women, one of whom is Spanish, one of whom is German,
and one is
Polish. And they each give him something. They help him along his way, both to get from one point to another, but especially to
reconcile his emotions. The German woman and the Polish woman especially, his feelings. He wants to try to get to Poland without going through Germany by train. And when he says that to a guy at the train station, he says, well, the only way to do that is to fly.
Right.
And he doesn't want to fly. So he's, needless to say, he lost his whole family, and he hates both Germany and Poland. I don't want to tell you what
it's just a beautiful movie.
It's just beautiful. It's also gorgeously shot. Yeah. I mean, I'm very visually oriented, and
no, but every one of the elements. The score was beautiful. The acting was superb,
down to the smallest role.
And it was a beautiful script. It was
stunning to look at, and it's such a heart-warming and wrenching movie. And it has a beautiful end.
Yes.
Yes.
The Last Suit, do look for it in theaters
in
around
your art
you.
Films.
Yeah.
Art theaters.
But I know that it will probably be a limited release, so at some point it will get to your DVRs, to your on-demand, to your
Netflix, Amazon,
all those.
one of those.
We do urge you to look for it. The Last Suit, it's a wonderful, wonderful movie. Now, finally, we just have 1 minute to kind of. Here's the thing. We've been watching. I mean, we watched. No.
I watched everything.
Mimi watched all of the US Open, and I came in for the big events. And who knew that I would become a Serena fan? I didn't used to, because she used to be much more abrasive.
She was much more like she was sort of in this last match.
But anyway, and I said, as we were watching the matches, I said, I'm gonna, if they mention the fact that she's a mother, that she came back from motherhood, one more time I'm gonna scream. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, everything else happened, and so we're ending up kind of talking about it.
Okay, so that there were several terrible calls made by the judge. Now, in fact, her coach was coaching. In fact, she did break her racket.
You know what, though? I believe her when she says that she didn't ask him to coach her.
No,
he decided to do what he decided to do.
Yes, what he decided to do. I don't know why she gets penalized for that. But she was penalized again because she berated the umpire. She never stopped. And I do have to say that at some point she should have just put on her big girl pants and gotten on with it. But to penalize her a game,
to me,
it was so terrible, because it also took away the joy and the legitimacy of the win of Naomi Osaka, who won that match. I do not have a doubt in my mind that 20-year-old girl would have won this match. She was playing the most superb tennis I've seen in a very long time. And Serena's game was not off. This girl was beating her.
Yeah,
I think we're going to see a lot of her. If you would have seen it and seen this child,
it became a soap opera,
crying on, pulling her hat over her face when on the podium, crying because she worshipped Serena. When she won the semifinals, and they said, "Do you have anything to say?"
Message to
Serena. They do those stupid interviews. Do you have anything to say to Serena before the match? And she went, "I love you." I mean, she's a soft-spoken, darling little girl, and I think for this to happen really tainted her win.
I think, though, when you said that she berated him and should have stopped, yes. But I have to say, as we were watching it, I turned to you and I said, he's just, it seems to me like he's just being petty now and just trying to show her who's boss.
Absolutely.
Who's wearing the pants in this relationship.
He wanted to show who had the penis in this.
Yes, there's no doubt that that's what he did. Yes. And she was, it would have probably been smarter of her to just stop at some point, but she was upset, she was angry, and especially she was angry because I think saying
she was cheating.
Yes, it hurt
Implying.
her. It hurt her because she has, a certain standard, and as she said, I think she would prefer to lose rather than to cheat. And so more than whatever penalty it was, I think it just bothered her that it would taint her character.
Yes, but my cousin Doug, who did, when I posted about this, said that he had to disagree with me, that if it was any other sport, she would have been ejected from the sport. And he's right.
But
it
Serena
isn't
said,
any other sport. The men are worse, and they have done worse things.
Exactly. The fact that it's a different standard for men and women, the double standard, as we always talk about, that's what it is, you know. It was very disturbing. It was very hard to watch. It was brilliant tennis up until that point, but this sexism has got to go. Yeah. So thank you for joining us for another podcast from Lady Parts. We have lots to talk to you about next week. We already know what we have to talk about next week.
Probably the week after, too, because we have so much to cover.
So much. Anyway, have a wonderful week, and we will see you next Saturday.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.